Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Incubator Podcast, live at the NEO conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are joined by our good friend, Dr. Lauren Ruoss. Lauren, welcome back to the show.
Thank you guys for having me back. We know you really wanted to be on the air, so we wanted to have you on.
Lauren is usually the person who says no to coming to the booth and then promotes somebody else. Like, no, you take this.
You go. Brings a lot of people to the booth.
So there's many people that have been on the booth, both at this conference and prior conferences. That have been managed by manager to the staff.
Yeah. Ooh, you're going to be great at this. Be a great publicist, I think.
Right.
It's my secret call. All right. Well, then who should we be on the lookout for? Who's up and rising stars?
Well, you definitely already got to meet Dr. Zach Anderson,
Was
who I know he's so excited to meet all of the people here, but he really is one of the stars.
And he did with you the point of care ultrasound workshop on Tuesday.
Yes, yeah. No, I was really excited that the NEO conference group recommended that we get to do this. They had tried a half session last year on vascular access that was wildly popular. And they talked to me about potentially doing a POCUS session this year and even thought, do you think people will be interested? Do you think people will want to do it? And I was like, oh, absolutely.
It fills up like that.
It fills up so
And you guys did a full day.
We did a full day. It was actually my first time doing this type of conference. So one of the things that the organizers of the conference really wanted to focus on was how can we get people to learn things that they can learn now and then go back and use. And so one of the things that people talk about in POCUS courses sometimes is we go into lots of details and lots of depth into things that you're really not going to go back and practice. Some of that being with the cardiac imaging. And so we wanted to stay away from some of those more advanced things and really say, okay, what's the most important thing to the people in the audience? And it's how do I save the dying baby? And how do I get access in babies where no one else can get access?
I love
And so we just focused on that. It is, any of you who have attended POCUS courses, they're famously wonderful in the fact that there's always something that happens. Usually there's children that are running around or decide that they're not going to participate anymore. Different things that people want to do in the afternoon sessions. So it's been a great experience for me to be able to say
flexible.
Very flexible. It's one of the best things about organizing these is saying, you know what, half of our faculty got stuck on the East Coast because of a blizzard. We had lots of children that were planning on coming that, of course, then weren't able to come and were able to find volunteers actually much later.
Awesome.
Even some of the organizing committee helped volunteer for us. And so it was actually a great experience.
That's very cool. I think what you said is really important. Give people something that they can take home. And you, my hemodynamics colleagues, may disagree with me. You may disagree with me. That will be fine. But I think POCUS is like, the gateway drug to hemodynamics potentially. I think it at least at the minimum gives people the lingo and spaces. He doesn't agree with me. That's why I said that, because I know he doesn't agree with me. But I think it at least gives people familiarity with the machine and how to use the probe and like things like that. What direction? What is depth and gain? Yeah, exactly. See, I know some of the things.
Well, and I think it also helps everybody have a better understanding of how to use the images, what are some of the limitations with them, how to speak the language, so you can actually speak the language with your cardiologist, so whether you're a hemodynamic specialist or not, understanding what these images look like, understanding for yourself. I think it just actually elevates everybody in the room. And so I wouldn't say it's a gateway. I would say
Disagree. We can vote. Maybe
the more we talk about utilization of bedside imaging, understanding function, filling, how does blood pressure work, where does POCUS end and echo begin, I think that those kind of conversations just help everyone.
As someone who's had a little foray into POCUS in your early days of POCUS, if I remember.
Yes.
If I remember.
Yes, I learned that if you train only fellows,
they leave.
So that's actually not a sustainable program, turns out. Super fun to do. Love training fellows, but you probably need to train someone who's going to stay.
But I think that once you get into when you're like, oh, I can see things. I can go and I can do it by myself. I think then it opens up like maybe the heart's not so scary. And I could figure some of those things out.
Well, it's actually really easy to diagnose a massive effusion. Like
Mhm.
it's so easy to diagnose a pericardial effusion. And it's actually really easy to tell, is the heart beating or is
Right.
it not?
And even function. Like even somebody like me can watch the echo and say like, that's
Well, now
good.
we're starting to deviate. I'm just kidding. No, but cardiac focus does say that we can look at lines and function and filling, just more qualitative.
All right. Well, should we keep talking about POCUS or should we keep talking? Should we talk about?
She's like, okay, well, this is clearly not the audience for me.
Yeah, I know you guys want to talk about hemodynamics, so we haven't talked about that yet this week.
We have not yet talked about that. No.
So that's one of my favorite things to talk about.
I know.
We in my unit, one of the most fun things that I think that we've done is there's 27 of us neos and hospitalists, and we have 9 nurse practitioners. And I had actually not completed my training in the University of Iowa when I started in my unit. And so when I finished, we kind of got to learn together. And so kind of had the approach of, hey, listen, I also used dopa to 20 all the time and thought that vaso was the worst thing and just killed babies. But turns out if you're on dopa 20 and epi to some horrible number, and then you give vaso, it's not a miracle drug. It's a
Hail Mary.
yes. And I also always used mean arterial pressure and never really looked at systolic and diastolic before. And didn't really understand the nuances of where you obtain the blood pressure. Now looking back, like this seems actually probably we could have learned earlier. But watching my group kind of learn to do this together. So yes, I'm the hemodynamics expert in the group. And yes, I'm the one that does the targeted neonatal echoes along with the wonderful echo techs and card support. But it's my group that's really kind of evolved too. And the way we talk about these babies, the way we talk about blood pressure, the way we talk about pulmonary hypertension, it's just completely different. And my apologies as you're attending when you were a first-year fellow and I was a first-year attending. I'm fairly certain a lot of the things I taught you I no longer do.
Darn it.
But that's one of the great things in neonatology. You just keep learning and you don't be afraid to recognize that like, okay, maybe there could be a different way to do this.
I love that. Well, I think we are learning so much about the physiology of babies that we didn't have a full grasp on through hemodynamics.
How do we forget about the heart? Right? Like we focus so much on the lungs and nutrition and the brain, which is absolutely wonderful. And that's what, the goal. But somehow we're like, oh, cardiology does the heart.
Yeah.
I do worry, though, and I want to talk to Ben some about this, is I also want to make sure we don't have a pendulum swing to focusing about the heart and forgetting about the lungs. So the heart and the lungs and how they talk to each other and how they interact, I think that every echo machine should have a linear probe to look at the lungs. I loved hearing McNamara today in his talk about the lungs. So I think that we're getting somewhere there. And if you look at the adult literature, that's what they're doing. Their echo techs look at the lungs and lung ultrasound and echo. And there's lots of data out there about predicting congestive heart failure readmissions, understanding if you're responding to diuretics, guiding resuscitation with volume and sepsis. And if anyone's ever scanned an adult, it's not as easy as scanning a baby.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure why in neonatology we're like, oh, I'm not sure that we should look at these things. I don't know, Ben, does your echo machine have a linear probe?
Yes.
And I see it's happening.
Be working on a paper regarding cardiopulmonary interactions. So
Yes.
so
They are very much symbiotic organs.
yeah, I mean, I think that you cannot really do something and not think of the two together. I think they're connected.
A little bit.
Yes. Turns out,
That they are connecting.
I mean, and they live in the same space.
But that's what's so interesting about our job. I remember when I was going through pediatric residency and I was like, do I want to be a pulmonologist and focus on the lungs? No, I mean, I like some of the other organs too. I want to be a nephrologist. Like, well, definitely not. I didn't want to do that, but I did not.
Or kidneys.
You know, some people love them. They're very important. I
Turns out you cannot live without them.
but I didn't want to focus all of my attention on one organ. I mean, I specifically went into neonatology because I thought that the interplay between different organs was like interesting and exciting and the whole baby. And then we try to treat one thing in isolation of the other.
And then you have
on
an
the
attendant
regular.
that's like, let's just focus on the vent and the lungs.
That's right.
And maybe not talk enough about what the vent could do to the heart.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So what is next in the world of hemodynamics?
So we are working on designing another hemodynamics fellowship. So we want to somewhat mirror between what the University of Iowa does and what the Children's Hospital of Orange County does. So the University of Iowa, there's a lot of focus, obviously, on neonatal hemodynamics and infants without congenital heart disease. At Chalk, they have a lot of kind of overlap between congenital heart disease, CICU, cath lab, things of that nature, as well as targeted neonatal echo, which of course is not looking at congenital heart disease. And so what we've realized in our institution and talking to our cardiologists is that just like in neonatology and we're pushing the envelope, so is cardiology. So we're seeing more and more preemies with congenital heart disease. We're having more and more conversations of where these babies should live. You probably hear more and more of neonatal ICUs that have a cardiac ICU within them or cardiac ICU that has a neonatal ICU within it. And so what we've decided that we really want to do is have a majority of it be very similar to the University of Iowa, focusing on neonatal hemodynamics, focusing on that cardiopulmonary physiology that's specific to the baby without congenital heart disease. However, we also want them to rotate in the CICU. We also want them to have some more exposure in the cath lab because, again, kind of that process of we need neonatologists to have a better understanding of some of this so that crosstalk with cardiology can be even better. So that's going to be our approach at the moment. I don't know, Ben, if you have any thoughts.
No,
About-
I would actually refer to our colleagues, Dr. Nim Goldstrom and Adrienne Bischoff, who host the From the Heart series, because obviously these are topics that they delve into, and I think that there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to neonatal cardiac ICUs, just
Yep.
because I think everybody is sort of building the ones tailored to their centers and their philosophy.
Yep.
So it is very exciting. Yeah, I don't have a dog in this. Yeah.
But maybe you can talk to people about how it's as you're developing your hemodynamics knowledge, how's it changing your clinical practice?
I think that
I've never asked you a question before.
No. I mean,
I mean, this is great. I can just sit and ask you guys questions now, right?
no, but I do think that
But only because I know how it's changed your clinical practice because I see it in the unit all the
Did
time.
you just ask him a question
And then I answered for him. Yeah, that's about right. That's our relationship, I think. All right, is there trying to answer my
Why you haven't asked him a question before?
it's it's definitely something that ends up enhancing your understanding of your patient.
Right.
And like Lauren was saying, I think that things that you did that were quite dogmatic, like, mean arterial pressure has to equal gestational age, suddenly that goes out the window, and now you can actually look at individual number, systolic, diastolic, understand the physiology, and then tweak that physiology, and then get feedback and readjust. And I think that this is a kind of care that feels a lot more precise. And because sometimes you have a baby that's 22 weeks and the map is 22 and somebody starts dopamine, you're like, what are we doing? That doesn't make any sense. And the kid's peeing and everything is fine. But there you're like, okay, now this makes sense. Like this physiologically makes sense. You feel like you're doing the right thing.
Yep.
Which is very frustrating when sometimes you do something and it doesn't pan out. And it's like, well, but that should be working. So why does it not work?
Well, yeah. And one of the things that I found too is, we talk a lot about how if you start something and it doesn't work, you should stop it.
Yeah.
But that's so hard to do in practice.
Oh, yeah.
It is hard to start nitric and then just stop it in the baby that's still satting 80 or 100%. And it's hard to start a pressor and then just stop it in the baby who has systolic of 25/12, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've learned though is what targeted neonatal echo and even POCUS to some degree helps with is to say, really, I did this and it got worse. Like I can see objectively things got worse, and it kind of makes you feel better to say, I really do need to stop this and have the kind of courage to stop it.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Very exciting, you guys.
Thank you, Lauren, for dropping by.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.